Mr. Ade and Ada had a beautiful, peaceful life together. They were a loving couple who made sure their daughters, Precious and Esther, grew up in a warm and nurturing home. Mr. Ade worked as a teacher, while Ada ran a small business. Life seemed perfect, but little did they know that life had some unexpected challenges in store for them. Precious, the elder daughter, always dreamed of finding a kind, loving husband. However, despite being a beautiful young woman, she struggled to find the right partner. Many suitors came and went, but none seemed to be the one for her. The delay in her marriage started to weigh on her, especially as she saw Esther, her younger sister, move forward in life. Esther, on the other hand, was lucky in love. She married a charming, caring man named Paul when she was just 23. Their love seemed to grow every day, and soon they were a happily married couple. Precious, though happy for her sister, could not help but feel a little left behind. The Ade family was very close-knit. They spent holidays together, helped each other with life struggles, and always made sure to support one another. Ada, the mother, loved having her daughters and their husbands around, and their bond felt unbreakable. Paul, Esther's husband, was a loving and kind man. He blended in well with the family and began spending a lot of time with Precious too. He often helped out with family chores, offered advice, and shared jokes with everyone. He made sure to be kind to both sisters, especially Precious, who felt a little lonely at times. At first, Paul's close connection to the family felt natural. But gradually, some things began to change. Precious started to rely on Paul for more than just advice. She looked to him for emotional support and comfort, and before long, their bond became stronger than it should have been. Precious began to open up to Paul in ways she hadn't before. She would spend long hours talking to him about her fears of never getting married, and Paul was always patient and understanding. At first, it felt innocent, but soon it became clear that their connection was blurring the lines of what was appropriate. One night, after a long discussion about her loneliness, Precious and Paul shared an intimate moment. They didn't realize how far their bond had crossed the line, and they thought it was just a one-time mistake. But it wasn't. The consequences would be far-reaching. Precious discovered she was pregnant, and the truth slowly began to dawn on her. She was terrified. How could this happen? She knew Paul was the father, but it felt impossible. She kept it a secret, hoping it would disappear, but deep down, she knew there was no way to hide the truth. The secret couldn't stay hidden forever. Precious couldn't bear to keep the truth from Esther, and one day, she broke down and told her sister. Esther was devastated. She couldn't believe that her own husband had betrayed her in such a way. The shock sent ripples through the family. Mr. Ade was furious when he found out. He couldn't understand how this could happen within his own family. He had always prided himself on maintaining strong family values, and now everything felt shattered. He confronted Paul, who was full of regret but tried to explain his actions, though it didn't ease the pain. Ada, as the mother of both Precious and Esther, felt the weight of the situation deeply. Her heart broke for her daughters, and she couldn't believe that Paul, whom she had considered family, had done this. The bond that once felt like a perfect family was now crumbling, and Ada struggled to hold everything together. The Ade family found themselves in turmoil. Precious was confused, feeling guilty and trapped. Esther, heartbroken and angry, couldn't look at Paul without feeling betrayed. The once unbreakable bond that held them together was now hanging by a thread. Everyone questioned how this could have happened. Esther and Precious had a long, painful conversation. Precious apologized over and over, but Esther couldn't forgive her. She was hurt in ways that words couldn't explain. Paul tried to speak, but Esther wasn't ready to listen. Their family was fractured beyond repair, and it seemed like there was no way to fix it. After much discussion, Paul and Esther decided to separate. The emotional toll was too great, and neither of them felt they could continue in a marriage that had been so deeply betrayed. Precious, too, realized that her actions had caused irreversible damage to her sister's life. Mr. Ade sat down with Precious to discuss what had happened. Precious tearfully confessed everything, admitting her guilt. She felt like she had ruined everything and that there was no way to fix the damage. Mr. Ade, although angry, tried to console his daughter, knowing that this was a difficult situation for everyone involved. Precious went to the doctor to confirm her pregnancy. The results were clear. She was expecting a child. The reality of the situation began to sink in, and Precious wondered how she could ever explain the situation to the child. It was a bittersweet moment filled with regret. The secret couldn't stay hidden forever. Precious couldn't bear to keep the truth from Esther, and one day, she broke down and told her sister. Esther was devastated. She couldn't believe that her own husband had betrayed her in such a way. The shock sent ripples through the family. In an effort to heal, the family sought therapy. It wasn't an easy decision, and some family members were hesitant, but they realized they needed help. The therapist helped them confront their emotions and begin the long journey of healing and forgiveness. As time passed, Precious found it hard to move past her guilt. She felt responsible for destroying her sister's marriage, and it weighed heavily on her. She would often sit in her room and cry, wondering how things had gone so wrong. The therapy sessions slowly began to help the family understand that relationships have boundaries. The closeness that was once the strength of the family had become its downfall. They realized that too much familiarity could blur the lines of what's right and wrong. As time went on, the Ade family started to set clearer boundaries. The lessons they had learned through their struggles began to shape the way they interacted. They understood that while it was important to be close and supportive, there were limits to how much familiarity could exist between family members. Precious, now a mother, realized that she needed to set healthy boundaries for herself and her child. Esther, too, began to define her space, allowing herself to experience love and trust once more, but with the wisdom gained from her past. The family collectively agreed that boundaries were not walls but tools for protecting the love they had left. After some time apart, Paul, who had been deeply remorseful for his actions, tried to make amends. He reached out to Precious, wanting to take responsibility for his mistakes and asking for forgiveness. Precious was still hurt, but she appreciated that Paul was willing to take accountability. She didn't know if she could ever fully forgive him, but she acknowledged his attempt to change. Paul also reached out to Esther, though she remained distant. She was no longer interested in repairing their relationship, but she was content knowing that Paul was finally taking responsibility for the damage he had caused. The Ade family had learned to adjust to their new dynamic. Precious and Esther had come to terms with their past, and while their bond would never be the same, they had found a way to coexist with mutual respect. Ada and Mr. Ade, too, had grown and learned to respect their children's independence. They worked together to support Precious in her new role as a mother, while also giving Esther the space she needed to heal. The family was no longer perfect, but they were learning to accept and love each other for who they were, flaws and all. The final chapter reflects on the lessons the Ade family had learned throughout their tumultuous journey. Each family member, in their own way, had come to understand the importance of boundaries, forgiveness, and self-love. Precious, now raising her child, found peace in her new role as a mother. Esther, having rebuilt her life, found love again, but with a heart that had learned to protect itself. Mr. Ade and Ada, once filled with regret, realized that no family is perfect, and that mistakes could be forgiven if there was genuine effort to heal. The family had learned the hard way that every bond, no matter how strong, had its limits. But with those limits came growth, understanding, and ultimately, the chance to move forward with love and respect.